everyone. This is Gail Estella, and welcome to the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Here's where we turn pain into purpose, because survival isn't a whisper, it's a roar. Now, I need you to do a couple of things for me before we get started. I need you to go in and like, comment, and share the Gail Estella Survival Podcast. Next, I need you to tell me, where are you tuning in from? I'm here in Aiken, South Carolina. Where are you? And are you following me on all of my social media platforms? If not, go in and do so. And lastly, right here, Through It All by Gail Estella. Have you purchased your copy yet? If not, it's not too late. You can go to truevinepublishingcompany.org and amazon.com or anywhere books are sold. You want to get this book. For the month of June, in honor of Father's Day, I will be interviewing men only. They will be sharing their stories on how they survived through it all. My guest, Lamont Gary. I met this young man only 2 weeks ago that we were both speakers at our church, Second Baptist here in Aiken, South Carolina. And as I listened to his story, how he told his story with such confidence and such pride, and some of his story reminded me of my own story. And I thought, what better person to have for this month? What better person to talk about how they survived through it all? What better person to talk about what they've gone through and how God delivered them and the father that they are today because of their deliverance? It's this young man. So I am going to introduce him to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a minute, 2 weeks, of course, but yeah.
2 weeks. Been a while. I know.
That's a long time.
I heard your story. And so much of your story reflected my own story. And your story is one of addiction.
Well, today I'm 3,120 days in a row without the use of drugs or alcohol. If you want to break that down, it'll be 8 years, 6 months, and 17 days without the use of alcohol or drugs or anything.
Anything that's minor mood altering.
Nothing at all. Anything that wasn't prescribed, none of that.
Right. So my question to you is, because you're so specific and detailed with the days, the month of your sobriety date or your clean time, why is that?
Well, first of all, thank you, God. When I was in active addiction, it wasn't a day that went by that I wasn't either thinking about doing drugs and doing it, or just thinking about doing drugs. It wasn't a day that went by. It was every day. No matter what I did, drugs and using was a factor in that day. Since God showed me what and where to make that change, every day is important. Every day starts a new journey. Every day is different. Every day is better. I keep account, not just to boast, but to say, you did it again. And I think you did it.
So in my mind, I imagine you having a calendar that you mark off each day. Because that's what I would have to do. So you keep all of this in your head. You add another day every day. How do you calculate this?
I'm not that perfect. With the way the world is today, anything you want to do, help is available. I have a clean time count, and my clean date is 11/25/2016. And every day, if I miss count, all I have to do is go to that app and make sure I'm on the right track. Because what I don't want to do is not credit myself for yesterday, but I don't want to take credit for tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it helps me stay in the day and let God keep doing what He's doing. So I lose track every now and again, but my routine is thanking God first, and then
that's what I was going to ask you.
Knowing what day it is today, because I don't know what the day gonna bring. You know.
Wow.
But it's today.
Okay, so and congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And when you said you never know what each day is going to bring, what do you do on a daily basis besides thanking God for allowing you to wake up, thanking God for keeping you clean? What do you do on a daily basis to ensure that you don't pick up again?
Well, like I said, first thing I do when my eyes come open, the first thing, thank you, God. And then before I get out of bed, and it's becoming so routine to me, I make a decision every day now. I decide that I'm not going to use no dope today. No matter what happens.
No matter what happens.
No matter what happens, me picking up dope and putting any mood-changing, mind-altering substance in my body, we not doing that today. And I say we because it's not an option. And no matter how bad the day be, no matter how good the day be either. Because I have you
right. You're not to reward yourself either.
Right. No matter how good the day is either. I just decide I don't want to do drugs today.
Wow.
And from there is go ahead.
Go ahead. Who are you gonna say?
And then from there is I get up and I say, okay, God, you know, what am I gonna do? And I don't just sit around and just wait. I start moving, you know, whether it be work, whether it be a chore, you know, around the house, a honey-do list. I do a lot of self-help groups. I do a lot of prayer, and I go to church. I belong to New Beginning Ministries, where Bishop Hezekiah Presley Jr. is my spiritual father. I read on staying clean, staying positive, staying blessed. What do God require of me? You know, and what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm not perfect at it, but God, you know, I'm trying. So
you're trying. Wow. Wow. Thank you for all the overwhelming support that you have shown me on the release of my first book, Through It All. And I would like to give a special thank you to all of you that have purchased your copy of Through It All. I would like to read a review to you. Hey Gail, I just finished reading your beautiful book. God has done some amazing transformation in your life. You are definitely a testament. Love you, girl. Thank you. If you purchase your book, and once you finish reading your copy of Through It All, please leave me a review, or better yet, a short video snippet of you telling your takeaways from Through It All. There are so many girls and women that are suffering in silence. They need to know that no matter what it is that they've gone through, no matter what it is that they're going through, that through it all, that they will be okay. And if you haven't purchased your copy of Through It All, let's get the word out that through it all, that you can still stand. Through it all, you can still thrive. Through it all. Thank you. So take us back.
Okay.
Take us back to the little boy before he picked up drugs. Tell us about that little boy. Whatever age you want to go back to.
Life was good. I wasn't abused. I wasn't neglected. I wasn't abandoned. None of that, I had a pretty decent childhood, so to speak, but it was always, it always felt like something was missing to me. You know what I mean? It was an inside thing. On the outside, everything seemed perfect. And then around the ages of like 10, 11, or 12, it got different for me. It felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't light enough. My head didn't fit my body. I wasn't heavy enough. So athletically, I never fit in, as a young kid. And at the age of 10, 11, and 12, most people are like, well, that don't matter. You just a kid. You don't know. And I'm here to tell people that, pay attention to these 10, 11, 12-year-old kids when they're that age and try to understand and get into them and see where they're at mentally. Because, when you ain't got nobody to talk to or express to how you're feeling and you thinking you're by yourself, that's dangerous ground. Because it was for me.
So would you have known how to express those feelings? Or did you have someone that you could have talked to? Or would you have known how to express them?
No, not at all. And I didn't. I didn't know. And even back then, I'm 55. So at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, you weren't it. You was a child. So stay in the child's place. If you had an issue, suck it up, son. Yeah. Or the best one, go play something.
Yeah. Wow. Get out of my face and just go play.
Get out of my face and go. Get out of grown folks' place. Get out of here. Go outside. And at the same time, what was unknown to me or my parents at the time, I was going through something, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like what you said that 10, 11, 8, I think you said 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, that pivotal point, because that's when kids are exiting elementary school and they're going to middle school. So it's a whole different world. I know for me, that's where I pinpoint my self-esteem and security started going to middle school. I felt different, or I compared myself to other people, and I didn't know how to voice that. I didn't know what to do with that at the time. And it took me a long time before I really realized it all stemmed from just comparing myself to someone else. So you go through these feelings. Did you have friends? Did you have a lot of friends?
At that age, it wasn't friends. It was more so family. Right. Okay. They were a little older, of course, but they were family all the same. It was I didn't really have to fit in. I just had to keep up, And but sometimes I fell short, or coming in last became normal.
And how did that make you feel?
Less than, low self-esteem, insecurities, and I'm talking about at that age. It done something to, you know what I mean? But at the time, like I said, I didn't know what the something was, and it was years, a lot of years later, but before I figured out that I suffer from fear, insecurity, and low self-esteem. Depression, anxiety. A lot of things came about from childhood problems and not knowing that there was a problem back then. Because I think it's more or less the reason being was we didn't have the knowledge of, my parents were brought up where, if you wanted something, you worked for it, know. And back in their day, it wasn't a whole lot that anybody wanted that was materialistic or anything like that. As long as they was free and was breathing, that was enough. But, when my generation came around, toys and bicycles and, sports and stuff like that, that was the important thing. But when you didn't feel like you measured up, the mind plays tricks on that.
Tricks on you. So thinking about that, what you just said, you had the bicycles, you had the toys, you had the opportunity to participate in sports. So you had all of those things. So your family were providers. What could have been differently? What would have been most important for you at that time, besides those things that your parents just didn't realize? What would have been most important for you?
Communication. Oh, not so much as to I'm getting into your pockets and into your personal business, but a line of communication where I could feel safe talking about how to be, and not be judged or ridiculed.
I understand. So let's stay here for a man.
Right.
For that little 10, 11-year-old boy. How important is that for men or boys that are going to grow into men? How important is it for them to have an environment at home of safety that they can come home and say, well, we lost our game today. I don't feel good, or I don't feel that I measure up with the other kids, or I don't feel confident in myself, and be able to express that, and for a parent to say, well, what it is that you need for me to do, or what can I do for you, or you are this, or you are that, or maybe we'll find something else that you feel better in, instead of, oh boy, you okay, you will be good, so, or just go and play and practice. I was good at this, so you gonna be. So what does that little kid needs so that they can grow up to be a confident man, that they can share their experiences and their vulnerability with their wives or their children? Is very important. It's
almost detrimental. I have a 10-year, and I ask him pretty much on a daily basis, you all right? How you doing? What you thinking? Is everything all right? Is anybody bothering? Are you bothering anybody?
Right.
What's on your mind? Is you troubled? What you happy about? What can I do to make life easier for you? And
wow,
that's something and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I know my parents love me.
I know.
Almost. Almost
too much.
Yeah. Right, right. But the one thing I know that I didn't have or didn't experience was the communication and the ability to say, Mom and Dad, I feel like this. This is how I feel. So not to because he has my DNA, not to let him go down or feel like he needs to go down the same road I did. I try to keep the line of communication. He here now. you know, and he understands, you know, simply
Mm-hmm.
because I'm open and I'm honest with him. At 10 years old, he does a lot of what I do for me on my journey to stay grounded. He participates with me, and all he does is wants to go. I don't.
To go.
I make it where what I didn't have was the opportunity to say, you know, help me with this. A lot of the stuff that I went through, I was scared to say something to my mom, you know, and I don't want him to have that fear of I can't go to my dad. He can always stop me if he can't go to my else.
That's beautiful.
That's something I didn't have.
Environment. Yeah, so you provide an environment of safety for him.
Yes.
Holistically, mind, body, and soul, spirit, bliss. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to get back to that because I have some questions for that topic. Let's start on the journey to addiction.
Oh, wow.
What led you there? How did you get there?
Well, like I said, in the last 8.5 years, I found out that I suffer tremendously from fear, insecurity, low self-esteem. Not on a daily basis like it used to be, but I still have. I deal with it. And when I was 10 years old, my dad, he started a career in the alcohol and drug field, right? And I was born in Newberry. Like I said, I didn't have to have friends because I had family. And my dad, in that profession, he went to school, got his degree, got all the credentials to be a substance abuse counselor. In Newberry, the town, he started his career, but Newberry is a small, close-knit town. And in order to make more money, to make a better life for us, we had to move to a place unfamiliar. And at that time, I didn't have a voice. Boy, it ain't up. You going because you are our son. This is, I'm doing it. And it wasn't an explanation. It wasn't he didn't prepare us. It was just, we're going to look at this house in Aiken, and because this is where we're going to live. And no reasoning, and everything in me, when I found out, when I knew, it was like darkness fell on me because I don't know nobody. Now, mind you, I'm already dealing with fear, insecurity, low self-esteem.
Right.
I'm too ugly, my head too big, my eyes too big, my ears don't match, I'm too skinny. Everything negative about me, I'm already dealing with. And now you want to, but I'm used to it from family. They don't bother me.
Right.
What you fixing to do is dig up my foundation, uproot me, and place me somewhere where I'm by myself.
Wow.
I'm all alone. And I didn't like it. I rebelled. I kicked and screamed. I tried to talk my aunts and my grandmama into talking him into let me live, stay there, and let them move. Because I didn't want to. I'm not a people person yet. Even back then, making friends for me was foreign. I was a loner. It could be a park full of kids, and then you could find me off in the corner by myself.
Right by yourself.
I just couldn't do it.
Yes. It's my book. Through It All, Gail Stella. This book has 6 powerful chapters, offering a quick and meaningful read filled with uplifting and empowering insights. Let's take a look. Here's the front. Through It All, Gail Stella. True Vine Publishing. And in the back, there's a place for you to take notes. You're going to want to take notes. I'm an author. I am that author. Gail Stella, the author. If I can say anything to you, it would be, do not give up on your dreams. Do not give up on your dreams, because they can come true. I am a true testament to this.
You can see back then, age 10, 11, 12, for me, when grandma and them would cook out, everybody would come. Neighbors, family, friends, Back then, drugs was around, but they wasn't as
prevalent
as they are now, right? Prevalent. You might have had a few cousins that smoked reefer back then. That's what we called her. But other than that, it wasn't no, you didn't have to worry about nobody setting your drink up, right? And they were drinkers, a lot of drinkers. And what would happen would be at the end of each cookout, the kids would have to go and clean up the yard and get all the paper and stuff up and straighten everything back up. Well, when they would drink, most of them would pour a drink and forget they made it, set the cup to the side. And what we would do would go and add all the drinks together, put them in a jug, and then we would, trot down to the creek and get drunk. And nobody would know the difference because they already drunk, pretty much passed out. And then the next day, it's summertime, we hide a jug and we go back down there throughout the day. Because back then, when you go outside, you're outside. Everything to do was outside. There was nothing inside, no video games. Might have watched cartoons on Saturday morning, but come 10:30, 11 o'clock, you out the door and you out there. So and you didn't have to worry about being kidnapped or nothing like that. So alcohol was my first drug, right? When my dad moved here, under the banter of a better job, better pay, better position, I didn't see he making a better way for us. I saw you doing this to hurt me, because he didn't explain nothing. Like I said,
he took it personal. Yeah,
I took it to my heart, my self-centeredness said the only reason why he moving is to hurt me, right? And coming to find out that was nothing. I was so far from the truth, but in my mind, that's what it was. So in my mind, at age of 12, I decided to concoct a diabolical plan that was in my head, foolproof. It's gonna work. I did not want to be here so bad that I said to myself, okay, your dad at this time, was a director of intervention on alcohol and drug abuse. He deals with a lot of cases where he helps people get off alcohol. He helps people get off drugs. He finds these people the help that they need. I don't want to be here. So he won't let me go back. But what if I could embarrass him amongst his colleagues enough to where they would try to hide me away? This is the plan in my head.
Wow, that's very ingenious for a kid.
This is gonna work. I promise you, it's gonna work. Because see, he's in and out of the courthouse, and he's in and out of these big meetings and buildings. He has a suit, tie, and a A briefcase.
Hey.
Black man with a briefcase. He's real important. And what you're not going to do, in my head, what you're not going to do is embarrass him and make people look at him the wrong way. I know it's going to work if I start using drugs and I start drinking and I get out of control. Because, see, he brought all the pamphlets home, and the one commercial, this is drugs. Big black.
This is your brain of drugs.
This is drugs. And then they show you a big black skillet. This is drugs. And then they show you this white egg, right? And this is your brain, right? Then they crack the egg into the pan. And this is your brain of drugs.
Right. I remember.
Any questions? Remember that? So,
yes, I do.
All of that in mind, my plan cannot fail. Because, see, if he's helping all these other people get off drugs and stop drinking alcohol, how would it look if his son is doing it and he can't help? It don't work. It won't work. He will have to hide me something, because I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna make sure they know that I'm doing it. I'm gonna embarrass him enough, and I'm gonna make his life a living hell in his field, to where he'll have to hide me like the crazy uncle in the attic type, you know what I mean? And send me back to my grandma and them, aunt and them, and all my family where I'm comfortable.
Back in Newberry. And
I'm okay.
Did it
right?
work?
It cannot fail, right? Well, like I said, I'm already drinking alcohol. And in 6th grade, I started smoking marijuana. Get to the 7th grade, and it was good. I felt good. And me feeling good gave me the courage to rebel and to be defiant and to be everything that I know he didn't want me to be. All right. Come 7th grade, tried out for basketball, almost made the team, but my grades. I'm not a dummy. I'm not retarded. I'm mentally, I'm great at it. My thinker is not broken, but I decided not to do it. To add on.
Intentionally, to add on. Yes.
To add on to the plan, I'm going to start failing in school. I'm going to start smoking weed, sneaking out the house, skipping school. I'm going to do what I need him to do is to throw his hands up and say, I can't do it. I don't want, he got to get out of here, because I've seen it done in other people's families. Right. I've seen other people get shipped off. In school. Well, where's so-and-so? Oh, that boy was so bad, they shipped him off. That's what I want. I want you to ship me off. Well, went out for basketball, made the team, but got kicked off the team for grades. I went out for football, and after maybe the 2nd, 3rd summer practice, the junior high school coach called my daddy to the side and told him, I couldn't be on the team. I was too little. Right? I can't. I don't measure up. I don't fit in.
And so, what did that do to you?
That hurt. It hurt a lot, because here I am in the 7th, 8th grade, being told that you're not good enough.
And that's how you took it, is you're not good enough.
And we don't want you. So after that, now mind you, like I said, I'm in the 7th, 8th grade. My dad takes me to the Pee Wee League field. I didn't want to play there. I'm the oldest thing out here, right? But needless to say, they let me on the team. But when they let me on the team, it didn't do nothing for me and my dad's relationship, because he didn't come to the games.
Wow.
Right? He didn't come to the games. So if they did put me in, I did my best not to do well.
comes from, that men are supposed to show vulnerability, men are supposed to cry, and they hold their grief, they hold their pain inside until it festers, causes all type of diseases and illnesses amongst us, the disparities among us, black men, black women as well. So where do you think that comes from, and how can that be changed?
So I'll say this. I think, and I firmly believe it, especially because of, and you know, as an African American male, you see my backdrop, my guys. But I think society has caused us to have to, quote unquote, live the Superman syndrome, right? For as far back as you can remember, as it related to a black man, we've always had to be the biggest. We've always had to be the strongest. We've always had to be this, right? All the way back from slavery, right? And if you weren't, you were less than, right? And we were bred to be that person,
right?
And so for us, we grow up and we have this thing where we have to provide for our family. We have to, like, we get no days off, and per se. And I think what happens with that, the byproduct of it is we have to then suppress our emotions. We have to suppress, you know, what it is that we feel, because we can't say, you know, I don't feel like it today, right? You just got to get up and you got to go get it done. And so in the process of that, I think us as men, we have created this space in our spouses and in our families where we've created this picture of like Superman, right? We wasn't, many of us weren't given the permission to let our children or our family see us vulnerable.
When I started drinking and smoking weed, it gave me courage, it gave me confidence, it gave me a backbone. And I started hanging out with the older guys.
Okay.
Where we grew up at, on the north side here of Aiken, this side of the tracks, depending on where you lived over here, dictated your social status. If you understand what I'm saying, you got you got good neighborhoods, you got bad neighborhoods, and you got that middle where it ain't good or bad, but it ain't the best. Where we lived was walking distance to everything. And like I said, I started communicating and conversating with older kids who knew older people who could get what we want. You know, it's a triple down. Just like now today, for a kid today to find a gun, to find drugs, to find anything they want in America is easier. Easy, real easy. That's how I would be. And all you had to do was say what you want. You know, and somebody knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody to get what you want.
They could get it for you. So you graduated to the powder, then you were introduced to smoking.
Yeah, I was introduced to crack cocaine. It's not a crazy story.
How old were you then?
18.
18.
Well, 17, 18.
Okay. So during that time, once you started snorting, were your parents aware of the fact that you were using? So where would you get the money from to purchase your drugs?
You know, we had allowance, you know, $10, $20, $30 here. Or, you know, I ran with a group of guys, you know, it's crazy. We would go steal bikes, find ourselves in somebody's house that wasn't ours. And this is that's it. We would do what we needed to do in order to get the drugs that we needed. And I guess that's why, you know, a lot of times today, I hate when I feel like somebody's trying to take something from me, because I took so much from a lot of people. And some of the people probably don't even know it was me, but I didn't care at the time. So when I started smoking crack, I was introduced to that. I didn't even see that one coming, because I was content with just marijuana, alcohol, and powder cocaine. I was introduced to crack through, at the time, my girlfriend's mom's boyfriend.
Wow.
Didn't have right. And even when I explained to my dad now, because what happened was he introduced me to it. One, he didn't have a license, all right, and he didn't have a job. What he said he did was wash cars, but he really did. We would go steal. We would go steal stuff, and we would go and pawn it, and he'd have some cash. What happened was I had driver's license, and he didn't. And the only way that he could get the girlfriend's, at the time, her mom's car was if I was driving. So he would ask if I could take him to go and wash these different cars and stuff. But we never went. We might have washed. We might have went where we said we was going twice.
Okay.
But any other time he was going to buy crack out, and he would buy crack and marijuana so I could smoke weed at the time. And then first, I tried lacing, adding the crack to my weed. I didn't get nothing out of it. And then he said, well, here, hit it off this can. And I liked it. It was a whole different high that I liked it so much that I went back to my buddies.
You told them about it?
Tried to get them to try it. I thank God that they didn't listen to my craziness. Now later on, some of them may have tried it anyway, but in that moment, they didn't listen. They didn't follow me up, and I'm thankful for it. And after that, it was still my mom, my dad, and my mom are creatures of habit. Everybody is. And at the age of 17, after I started smoking crack and realized that you only need $20 to get a decent sized piece of crack. Back then, it was a lot back then. What I would do, my dad would come home from work, put his briefcase down, eat, take a shower, watch the news, get ready for bed, get into bed, and leave his wallet on the nightstand, on the dresser where the TV was. And then by 11:30, 12 o'clock, like clockwork, he's always asleep. My mama would go to bed a little later after to make sure that the house is shut down and no stoves on. And I would check on both of them to make sure that they sleep. Usually by about 12:30, they were into sleep pretty good. And what I would do, grab his wallet, take the bank card out, put the wallet back, climb out the window with the car keys in my pocket. Me and my brother, who is he's younger than me, but he's my partner in crime, right? I would never let him go and hang out with me, but in order to get started, he helped me a lot. Climb out the window, push the car out of the yard, push it down the street far enough to where when I started, they couldn't hear it. Then make sure he went back in the house through the window and leave the window open so when I get back, he could help me push the car back in. I could sneak back in, put my dad's car back in his wallet. Well, that was another diabolical plan, because I wasn't working, didn't have a job. What little bit of job I had then, I didn't realize then that I was spending all my money on crack. It didn't dawn on me. I just didn't see it.
So did your parents ever see a difference in your physical appearance, or did they ever see that something was different with you?
If they did, they didn't say nothing out loud to me. Okay. When I knew that my mom and daddy knew that I was on drugs was the day that they were sending me off to rehab. And I didn't even know I was going. My dad, like I said, his profession and what he would do most of the time they would have seminars, or he would have to go to extra learning skill classes, which would take place over the weekend. He did a lot of that out of town. And when that time would come, my mom would, wash his clothes, fold them up, pack his bag for him, so that when he get ready to go, he could just grab the suitcase and go. I come home in the evening before she went to bed. Well, during the evening, not before she went to bed, and it looked like she was doing the same old routine. I'm like, oh yeah, they're going out of town. She was like, no. She was doing the same thing for me. Had brought me socks, underwear, toothpaste, toothbrush, t-shirt. All I needed to do.
Now you were getting shipped off. Remember, you wanted to get shipped off.
Now I'm getting shipped off, and I don't want to go. Didn't know I was going. I didn't know I was getting a surprise vacation. And what happened was, how they found out was, like I said, I would sneak in the room after midnight and get the bank card. And the only reason why I know the PIN number, my dad trusted me for some ungodly reason, don't know why, but he trusted me with a 4-digit PIN. And plus he showed me how to get the money out of the television. And what happened was, my dad had noticed that a lot of money was coming up missing. And him and my mom got into a discussion, an argument, where he was saying she was taking the money. She was calling him crazy because she didn't have his money. She had her own money, And when they went back, it's this thing called bank statements and records that they went to look at. And they seen where the transactions were being made. They knew what teller, which at the time the teller was down here off Richmond Avenue at the food line. Well, it wasn't food line back then, but yeah. And the thing was, they saw what time. And it was anytime a big lump sum of money would come out, it'd be 1:30, 2 o'clock a.m. when both of them knew that they were in the midst. So that's how.
So you go to treatment.
Right. I had an ultimatum. Either I go to treatment or go to jail.
So you go to treatment. How long did you stay in treatment? You did 30 days.
Yes, that was my first introduction to Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
And it was. I didn't go for the change. I wanted to stay out of jail. 2, it ended up being one of the best resorts I've ever been on. It had a tennis court, a volleyball court, a little miniature golf. It had a walking track, 24-hour kitchen, TV back then with cable, a basketball court. We had a area where we could get on bicycle. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Then we had, the classes, the
meetings
and stuff. So yeah, but I did that for 30 days. It was good. I really liked it, but I didn't change at all.
And so after treatment, you come back to Aiken.
Right.
Did you attend meetings, or how soon after treatment did you begin?
Well, I had to play the game. I had to play the game as to, yeah, everything gonna be different now. Yeah, I've changed. No, I don't do drugs no more. That'll never happen again. I ain't gonna ever touch drugs again. I had to play the game. And to be honest, I thought I was telling the truth. I really did. And see, back then, because that was in '89, when Hurricane Hugo hit, I was in treatment. That was my first one, and got back. It wasn't any NA meetings or Narcotics Anonymous, which I'm a drug addict, and at the time didn't realize that alcohol is a drug also. But I went to AA drug. Right, I went to AA meetings, and even in there, I couldn't identify.
Right.
I wasn't in. Y'all talk about drinking. I smoke more crack than a little bit. I don't need to be here. But I couldn't go home and tell my mama them that. So what happened was, I started leaving the house as if I'm going to the AA meeting, which I already know is going to last an hour, hour and a half. That gives me just enough time to run and buy some crack, smoke it, get back home, and fiend till they go to sleep and get up and start stealing.
Yeah.
And then when they found out that it's all over again, you know. And by then,
so I remember when you were speaking, you were saying that your parents kept giving you chance after chance after chance. And we talked about enablement. So how detrimental is it for parents to enable their children or a wife how detrimental is enabling a person when it's obvious that there's a problem? Because we want to save, we want to help, but are we doing more harm than good when we enable the ones we love?
You just said it basically in a nutshell. You said we want to change. We want to help and we want to change. We, not the one that you trying to help. Here's the thing. I was in active addiction on and off for almost 30 years. All right. I have been through countless rehabs. I've been through countless mental facilities because it's a mind thing. Halfway houses and shelters and stuff like that. Substance abuse clinics and stuff like that. And every time I would get in trouble, either the girlfriend or quote unquote hostage that I have taken, my mom, I call them hostages because see, these people love me more than I love myself. And I would manipulate and play on that. You know, I didn't want them to leave because if they left, I would have no other source to get drugs. And if you don't let the individual who is in active addiction completely bottom out, if you're always there with the safety net, if you go get them out of jail with the baby, I ain't gonna do it no more. This is my last time. Mama, please, I'm sorry. I promise you it ain't gonna happen again. I'm gonna do better next time. The more you help them, it's gonna come a time where it won't be a next time because they haven't suffered the consequences and repercussions of this time. What my parents almost did was love me to literal death. They almost helped me kill myself because they kept saving me. The girlfriends kept saving me.
And they were doing it out of love, but not realizing that it was doing more harm than good. So during your addiction, the women that you dated, did any of them use?
No, not initially, not at first. You know, I dealt with some really great women, and I called them hostages because I was a user. I manipulated, I lied, I cheated, I stole from them. I physically abused a couple of them, and they still love me in spite of myself, in spite of what I continue to do. They still love me, but they never used. And it was only
you said the physical abuse occurred.
Ma'am.
You said the physical abuse occurred.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it only during the time that you were high that you abused, or did you abuse? I guess it's the only time it wasn't only when you were high that your mind was altered. Was that the only time that you abused?
It would be when I was high, when I wasn't high and wanted to get high. When I was high and they would leave me alone to go continue to get high. It would be.
Or maybe give you money. Did you ever take their money? Did you ever take money? Money, microwaves, TVs, stoves, cars. If it wasn't nailed down and I could get some dope for it, I'm taking that. Ceiling fans. To me, anything materialistic was not important.
my daddy's guns. I rented out my mama's house so many times, when the girlfriends would buy me nice clothes, buy me nice shoes to match. If I'm out there getting high, all I needed to hear was one of the drug dealers saying, "That's a nice pair of shoes. I'll trade with."
Okay, last time. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Statistics. This is a big one, okay? So everyone pay attention to this. Nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. 1 in 3 girls in the U.S. is a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner. 50% of young people who experience rape or physical or sexual abuse will attempt to commit suicide. Teens who suffer dating abuse are subject to long-term consequences such as alcoholism, eating disorders, and violent behaviors. What prompted you to get clean? What prompted you to decide that enough is enough?
My granddaddy moved here, right? And he was on hospice. And the nurse that was coming to take care of him, me and her got into a relationship. And at the beginning of that relationship, she got pregnant, which is where Emory comes from. Well, a year or so after Emerald was born, we took him to the doctor because he, crying. He had a real, real bad ear infection. And we took him on a Saturday. Real bad ear infection. We're not going to be able to get the medicine for it till Sunday. So she goes to work. I don't have a job. I get him. And she leaves me with the car to go and pick up his medicine. All right. We were supposed to be having a family get together at my mom and dad's house for my daddy's birthday this week. Got family from Newberry coming over here for his birthday. So we get up, we go there first before CVS opens. And when they open, I have my nephew. Well, me and Emery leave first to go to CVS. We get there and the pharmacy ain't open yet. Right. So I take him back to my mom's house and we wait till the pharmacy opens. And I have my nephews to watch him. Because in my mind, I just need to run to the drugstore. I'll be right back. Not realizing that my track record is if I could be doing real good and take a left at any moment. So I go back to CVS, get his medicine, come out of CVS, have his ear infection medicine, and I know he in pain, and I know he hurt, and I know he's miserable. And I say, I love it. And I get in the car, and instead of me taking a ride to take care of my responsibilities for him, because he's a top, I take a left and say, I'm just gonna run out here and get me one. Then I'll take it. That didn't work. Because once I got the one, I didn't care whether he got his medicine or not. I know he hurt me, but I want this dope now to chatter from that first hit that day, canceled out his need.
Everything.
Right? Everything else. And at that was roughly 10, 11 o'clock that Sunday morning. Well, by the time my sisters and my brothers got out of church and got to my mama's house, see, I've done this so much, they knew. They knew it was not going to be a good day. So they were looking for me. Now the whole day, by this time, I had, football jerseys and stuff like that. I done gave one away and I got on somebody else's shoes. But I'm still in, my girlfriend's car. And they messed around and I thought I saw them before they saw me, but it didn't go like that. They saw me hit the gas. I got crack in the car, got pipe in the car. I got my baby's medicine in the car. And instead of me stopping and saying, here, go ahead, I took them on a high-speed chase all through Shallow Heights. We going up and down Shallow Heights. And every road I could turn on, I went up because I didn't want to stop. And even worse than that,
you couldn't stop. You couldn't stop.
Couldn't stop. And when I finally, it's a store out in Shallow Heights, right in the deep curve. And I knew I had like $25, $30 more on my bank card, right? And in my mind, I'm going to give them this car so they can get the hell on, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I didn't know that when I stopped and got out, left the keys in the car, left the medicine there. I didn't know till after I got clean, and me and my sisters were reliving that day. She was like, I was steady hollering your name, and you just kept walking. I was telling you it's okay. But the dope, the first hit of the day wouldn't let me hear none of that. So I walked in the store, got everything, got all the what little bit of money I had on my card. Well, needless to say, once the money ran out, I didn't have any other way of me to get more dope, the right or the illegal way. Now it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock that night.
That night.
And now I'm walking home. Well, not home. I'm walking to my mama's house because, I don't have a home. I'm homeless. I'm a crackhead. I ain't got no home. But the guys who was in the crack house, over the crack house, I got to go because one, you ain't bringing no more dope in here, and two, you're sitting there, you're in everybody else's space. We can't smoke in peace, so you got to go. So now I'm walking home from Shallow Heights out to Citizen Field with somebody else's shoes on and a hoodie. This is November, cold at night. And I've made this walk 1,000,000 times, out of dope, out of money. Now I got to go home. But on the way home this time, it was different. Because now reality started to set. I hadn't seen Emory since that morning when we went to CVS. And I didn't care whether or not he was okay. So I'm walking and I'm talking with God. And like I said, I've been through this 1,000,000 times before. And I said, God, if I don't do something different, he ain't gonna make it. So I know we've been there before. But what I need for you to help me one more time. And I know I said one more time before, but I don't do something different. Oh God. He ain't gonna make it. So if you could do this for me, just give me one more shot. One more shot at trying to get it right. One more shot at trying to do something different. at least so he could be okay. I'll do the best I can to make it work my while. And I kept walking. I walked all the way to my mama's house. And that Monday morning, I came to, and I went to the center, and I explained to the lady, you know, I need to get into a rehab, because I wasn't one of the ones who could just stop at the house. I had to go somewhere and sit down for a minute, as like in lockup, or I needed to be confined, because if I had
removed,
yeah, I had to, because I just can't sit at my mom's house and say I quit doing dope. I needed some time and space away, right? And this was a Monday, and I've been there before. They know my dad, but it wasn't like no special privileges or nothing like that. I knew the routine. I knew the steps we had to take. You got to be clean at least 48 hours before we can let you in, so it won't be, you know, Tuesday or Wednesday if we find you a bed and standing there. So I did all of that. But thanking God enough, you know, we're coming up on the Christmas holiday, so I had already ordered his Christmas gift, which was one of those big remote control cars where he could sit in, but you could control it, but it had to be put together. And what was crazy was, well, I think that saved me also that one more day to stay clean, because I knew that they was going to call. I just didn't know when. And after that talk with God, I was trying to do this thing right. So I'm at the house putting his car together for Christmas, and they called. Right. And this is at like maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. They called and they said, you know, Mr. Gary, we got a bed. You need to be here before 5 o'clock in Columbia. Right. And I'm putting this car together and everything in me, but you got to get this car finished before you go. So while I'm putting the car together, I'm calling my mama, I'm calling my sister, and I'm like, man, I need a ride. I need to get me a ride. All I need is one ride. I need a ride one way. And I told them what was going on. I told them what I was trying to do. And sure enough, one of my sisters got off work. The other one, she got off work. My mama, all three of them. And they went and got Emery for me. And by the time they got to the house, I had to put his car together. And I just put me some clothes in a bag. And I went to rehab. And this is Christmas holidays. It's at the holidays. It's right after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. And I made up in my mind that I'm going to do everything I can that I know to do to get this thing right. And the first thing I had to do was take everything I know, everything I think I know, all the knowledge I have, and throw it out the window.
Throw it out the window.
And surrender. Yes, I give up. I done did it my way. It's not working. Let me do it this way. And let's see what happens. And I went to rehab, and I'm so good. My charisma and my attitude and how I carry myself, which this is the characteristics that everybody else gives me, but I don't see it for myself. I'm just being me. And my counselor now, and she, you know, coming up on the holiday, she's like, well, you know, I'm not going to be back till after the first of the year. But your out date is right after Christmas. I can make a special request and let you go home before Christmas, and you could be home for Christmas. I said no, because that wasn't my plan. And like I told her, if I cut a corner and I quit now, I'm not going to manipulate. Right. If you do that to me, it won't be another Christmas. And she looked at me like anybody else would want to go home. I'm not saying I don't want to go home, but what I'm saying is I want to live more than I want to go home. So I stayed. Because I'm used to taking a shortcut. All right. And I'm used to getting the everybody taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
But the talk and the agreement me and God made was, if you do this, I do all I got to do. And me cutting the corner wasn't part of it. So stayed through Christmas. I came home. I've always believed in God, but it was always somebody else's God.
Belief. Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
My mom,
Mm-hmm.
God. My dad is God.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma and them.
I want to ask you something before we move any further. Because when you said that you weren't that person that could have stayed at home for the weekend until those days came, or you couldn't have gotten clean without going back to treatment. How about for people that are listening and they have a family member that's in active addiction, and they tell them, and it could be any type of addiction, because we know addiction is just not about the drugs, the alcohol, anything that we compulse over, anything that one is too many, never is, one is too many, and it's never enough, anything that alters our mind that we can't control our actions. So any type of addiction. And when we tell people, just stop. Why don't you just stop? You can just stop. And people exercise willpower. But is this a thing about willpower? Is becoming sober about willpower?
No. Here's the thing. I don't like chitlins, right? Everybody and their mama couldn't hold me down and make me eat chitlins. I would fight my way out of that. But the disease of addiction is bigger than chitlins. It's bigger than willpower. Yeah, you might say, I'm not going to do drugs. Or I'm going to quit doing drugs today. But something's going to happen if you just quit doing drugs, but don't address the real issue. And the issue is never the drugs. It's never drug. I only had a problem with drugs 2 times in 28 years. That's before I got them and after they were all gone. That's the only time I had a problem with drugs. My biggest problem while doing drugs was always me and my thinking.
Yes.
Right. So
my willpower
to not do drugs is one thing. But if I don't change my attitude, my ideas, and how I think, and how I see things, and how I react to things, nothing changes. Because it ain't the dope that gets me in trouble. It's me.
That's just a sign of everything else.
It's a sign of what's really going on.
I'm going to read something to you. Addiction. How do we define addiction? Addiction is a primary chronic brain disease categorized by compulsive use despite harm. There are a few important points here. First, it is a disease and in itself. So while other psychiatric disorders then co-occur with addiction, addiction is not a manifestation of another mental illness. It's by itself. To have an addiction, someone must continue to use despite harmful consequences. This can be the most challenging part for family members and the public to come to terms with, because addiction is entirely irrational. And when they say just stop, it's telling us here, you can't. For many people, it is also a chronic disease, meaning that people don't get cured, but treatment allows an individual to manage their illness and minimize return to use. It is also 40 to 60% genetic. meaning that just like heart diseases or diabetes, about half of the individual's vulnerability to develop addiction is based on what genes they were born with. It is a disease that hijacks the part of the brain that makes rational decisions and weighs risk and benefits. So just like a person with a stroke may be unable to use language or move a part of their body, a person with addiction is unable to use that part of the brain that can look at negative consequences and make rational decisions about using. Do you believe addiction is a disease?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So what if society looked at addiction as a disease instead of some type of a negative connotation that
if they looked at it for what it is, they would probably
what it really is. How much better do you think the disease of addiction could be treated? Mm-hmm. How much better do you think people with addictions can be treated opposed to sending a person that's using and buying drugs to jail instead of offering some type of treatment?
Let me see if I can help somebody. Here's the thing. If society were more educated on the dis-ease of addiction, they would focus more on that part, not the fact that, the meth epidemic, the crack epidemic, or the pills, the morphine. See, they looking at it as a material thing that's causing addiction. No. Here's the thing. If my daddy, right, like I said, director of intervention, alcohol and drug abuse, went to the seminars, read books, took tests, became very capable of helping an individual find the help they need in order to get better, right? Mm-hmm. And I can go to my daddy and say, hey, man, I need to talk to you about something, right? But it's something about somebody experiencing the disease of addiction and have found a way out and a new way to live that's different from somebody who read about it in a book or something.
The clinical part of it.
Here's the thing. If you haven't experienced wanting to do drugs and not wanting to do drugs at the same time and still come out clean, you'll never understand the dis-ease of addiction. Now, you could point me in the right direction, but I can't call you, and not you, but I can't call someone who hasn't stayed up all night, who hasn't decided to go and steal their sister's money and all her jewelry like I did. Somebody who hasn't took their brother's car and sold it, made me my own, know the Republican signed off. See, the way the active addiction mind thinks is different from somebody who is responsible, right? The disease hijacks that part of the brain that makes rational decisions. Right. And see, how I think in active addiction is totally different than the normal thought process. But if you don't understand that, if you just looking at the surface, if you just looking at the fact that, he spent his whole check out there doing drugs, now he don't have nothing. See, you associating the wrong thing with the disease of addiction. You looking at a side effect, right? You need to look at what the problem is. What made him spend his whole check? It wasn't the crack that made him. It was a thought first. Why do he think like that?
Mm-hmm.
What makes him think like that? Can he think differently? And see, that's what I learned in the last eight and a half years. When I got out of rehab, the day I got out, see, they suggest that you go to 90 meetings in 90 days. They suggest that when you get out of rehab, the first thing you do is go to a meeting. I didn't do that. The first thing I did, first day I was out, I went to church, and my bishop, Hezekiah Presley, he held up. He called me to the front, and remember that piece I was telling you about? You know, I never fit in. My sister and them, they knew it. I went to the church because they went there. I didn't even think I fit in there. I didn't even know this man knew who I was. I didn't think he wanted to know or cared to know. Well, when I got out of rehab that day, we had a revival in December. And he called me up front. He said, and when he said it, it seemed as if it wasn't nobody in the room but me and God. Because when he said, come here, man, I mean, the church is full of people. And he could have been talking to anybody, but I knew he was talking to me. I knew it. So I walk up front. He said, man, you see this sheet of paper? And it was blank, just like that. He said, if you stick with me, you could rewrite your whole life on this piece of paper. And you stick with me. He said, you stick with me. You do what I tell you to do. You can rewrite the whole life. And I did.
How have you rewritten your whole life? Tell us about Lamont Gary today.
Now, I'm the best thing since Wonder Bread and Oreo cookies. I tell you that. I still suffer from fear, insecurity, and low self-esteem, but it's nothing like it used to be. But the first thing I did was I got okay with me. I started liking me more. I started paying attention to my health. I started accepting me for who I was and whose I am. My life today, that piece of paper that he said I could rewrite it on, I filled it up, turned it over, filled it up, turned it back over, erased all that, filled it up again. It's constantly getting better and better. I'm not better than anyone that's still in active addiction. I'm not better than anyone who is dealing with other issues. What I am is better off. Now that I quit doing drugs, I'm better off. I have a job. If I know then what I know now, which I don't regret any move I made my whole life, but had I paid attention and done what I'm doing today back 28 years ago, I can't imagine where my life would be. But in the last 3,120 days, I can say that the quality of my life has gotten so much better. The job I had was getting because I quit doing drugs. The family I got, I'm married, all of my kids, I got 6. 3 of them went through the active addiction part where I took Christmas gifts. I never was there. One of my daughters, I just met her since I've been clean. All right.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you made amends? We're going to go back to what you're doing now, but have you made amends to who?
To those that I could, and to some that I tried, they wouldn't let me. And what they told me, you don't have to tell me you're sorry. Just keep doing what you're doing now. So as long as I don't,
How did
At
that
first,
make you feel?
It's not. I can't explain it, but just to say it, I feel like I owe them still because of what I did and what I didn't do. I feel guilty sometimes, you know, and I had to learn that, you know what, forgiveness is a big thing. And this is how somebody else is teaching me how to do that. No matter how wrong I had done them, they okay as long as I don't do what I used to do and continue to do what I'm doing now, which is on a daily basis. I try to change. Even if
have you forgiven yourself?
Yeah, I have. But it took me some therapy to do that. I went, you know, I got different avenues that my help comes from. You know, I got some self-help groups, church. My family foundation is very broad. I got friends now. You understand?
Today, yes.
I got friends now who care about what's really going on. And it's like we got to say in the groups I'm in, the broader the base, the higher the point of freedom. And with the foundation and the base I have, I can't get high enough. It's no ceiling, no cap on it. What I do is I try to be the best I can be. I be honest with myself first. Yeah, with myself first. You know? What helps me throughout the day with other people, places, and things is what I found for me that works is if something is bothering me negative, my mind won't let me just sit there and think about it and not say nothing. Sometimes the best thing
you have a voice today.
Yes. And I have to talk about it because if I don't get it out and it stays in, I'm going to use.
Yes. So how important is that? How important is that? Because we're at an hour and 27 minutes, and I know my man, he gonna be like, but this is good. So how important is having a voice? And we all have a voice, but how important is exercising your voice? Because that's one thing I always tell people, and that's something, you know, I told my husband that I'm a great communicator because I have to be. I have to tell you what I'm thinking. I have to tell you what I'm feeling. I have to tell you how some things make me feel, because if I don't, I am at a greater risk than the average person is. I have more to lose than a lot of other people do. So to maintain my sobriety, I have to be honest with myself. I also have to be honest with you, and I have to exercise my voice. That's my right for me today to let you know where I am, how I am,
and see,
to protect myself.
Like you say, be honest with yourself first, and then if I have a problem with people, places, and things, I have to voice that because I'm wired different. You know, what's a molehill to you is a mountain to me. I see it different. My thinker is different. I'm wired different. So if I sit back and not say nothing and put on a mask and act as if what you did didn't hurt me, when deep down on the inside it's killing me, and I don't say nothing, I'm in danger. And you are in danger. You in a lot of danger. But I'm in danger first. Because see, if I don't keep myself healthy on the inside, it oozes out and it makes everything on the outside tainted and toxic. So let me ask this question. You said during your addiction, you abused. There was domestic abuse. How about in your relationship now, in your marriage now? Have there been any forms of abuse? Not physical abuse, but like I said, I'm learning how to communicate in a relationship. I've never been in a healthy relationship because I was never healthy. I'm learning how to do the marriage. I'm learning how to be more, to open up a little bit, to communicate a little bit better, to express how I feel without throwing a glass at the wall to get you to pay attention to. Sometimes it's best I don't say anything so I can process it before I open my mouth. I had to learn that knee-jerk reaction to you not giving me what I want, when I want, how I want it is not the right way to go. So I'm learning how to do that. But the only way I can learn how to do that is to talk to other people who I think are doing and been through what I've been through or going through and made it to the other side, one, successfully, and they didn't use. Because just because I quit doing dope, smoking crack, and running the street, life still be life. It ain't peaches and cream, but it ain't all vinegar and sand like it used to be either. I'm learning, and I wake up every day excited most times to learn something that's going to increase and help shape the quality and value of my life, not just mine, my family. See, if I use anytime after now, not only do it affect me, it's going to affect everybody. Everybody. I won't have a job. I won't have the family. I won't go to church. And you ask, what's my life like now? Since I stopped using drugs and lost the desire to do drugs and found a new way to live, I got a better job. And like I said, I got a beautiful wife, got beautiful kids. I belong to a great church family, my own personal family, which it expands more than just my mom and my dad and my sister and them. Everybody is pulling for me. And I finally, by not doing drugs, my credit score is 789. I got a FICO of 80. And the house I'm in now, see, God got a way of doing things for me, and I don't even know He's doing it. And by the time He shows it to me, I've already had it. The house I'm in now, I moved in this house to get to check off boxes for the bank because I was looking at $300,000-$400,000 houses that I wanted to buy. I'm to find out the way God had it set up back then was you're going to start out renting this house. Then you're going to start buying this house. So back March 19th, which is my son's birthday, I closed. Me and my wife, we closed on this house. And before we closed, we kind of thank you so much that God did that. Come to find out, the house sits on a nice piece of property. Did not know that the property extends 2.5 more acres.
Wow.
See,
wow, look at God.
Out of the crack now. He took me out from up under bridges, and he took me out from beside the garbage cans, and he put me in my own house, and he's showing me how to be more responsible, a more productive member of society. And that's all because I decide on a daily basis not to do dope. I don't do it by myself. I let Him help me. And I just make a decision every day. And it's not what I need. It's what I want. It's different this time.
This has been a good interview. I don't know how. This has been a good interview. This has been a great interview. In closing, there's 3 things that I want to ask you. This is the Gala Stella Survival Podcast. Name 3 things, and you've named some of them, but I want you to name 3 things that have helped you to survive.
Honesty. Being open-minded. And being willing. See, I got honest with myself, right? And I accepted the fact that I couldn't stop doing drugs on my own, and I couldn't change how I was living on my own. Then I became open-minded. I accepted the fact that you know what? My way ain't working. Let me do somebody else. Let me try somebody else's way. What did you do? Can you not tell me what you did? Show me what you did to get where you at. And I tried. Because my idea ain't working.
Wow.
You know, and then I became willing to do anything by any means necessary, you know, to make sure that when I lay down at night, I didn't use. And when I wake up in the morning, I haven't used. And I'm still in my right state of mind, my right frame of mind. I'm able to get up and try it again today. Today ain't like it was yesterday, but as long as I don't use, it's a better day.
Wow, everyone. Wasn't that a great interview? If you want more of that for the month of June, please stay tuned for the whole month for this series with only men talking about their vulnerability, the things that they've gone through it all, how they survive. Men have feelings too, and we're going to hear about all of that the month of June, or we're going to hear about all of that this month.